For decades, the world's wealthy individuals and corporations have sought out tax havens. These locations offer a tantalizing promise: lower taxes, financial privacy, and a haven for assets. By minimizing their tax burden, individuals and companies can hold on to more of their hard-earned profits. Some nations actively court foreign investment through favorable tax policies, while others turn a blind eye to the movement of capital across their borders. The result is a global network of jurisdictions that cater to the financial needs of the world's elite. Europe, a continent long associated with economic stability, has also been home to its fair share of tax havens. Countries like Ireland, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands have attracted multinational corporations with their favorable tax policies. However, the landscape of tax havens in Europe is undergoing significant change. Increased scrutiny from international organizations such as the OECD has led to pressure on European nations to reform their tax laws. The European Commission has taken a more active role in cracking down on harmful tax practices and promoting tax transparency among member states. The future of tax havens, both in Europe and beyond, will be shaped by ongoing efforts to create a more equitable and sustainable global tax system. For decades, a select group of European nations stood out as beacons for individuals and businesses seeking to minimize their tax liabilities. Portugal, for example, became synonymous with the non-habitual resident (NHR) tax regime, which allowed foreign residents to enjoy significantly reduced tax rates on certain types of income for a period of 10 years. Similarly, Malta's citizenship-by-investment program offered a fast track to European citizenship for individuals willing to make a significant financial contribution to the country. Ireland, with its low corporate tax rate of 12.5%, emerged as a hub for multinational corporations, particularly in the technology and pharmaceutical sectors. The success of these tax-friendly policies was undeniable, attracting significant foreign investment, creating jobs, and boosting economic growth in these nations. The tide began to turn against Europe's tax havens as international pressure mounted for greater tax transparency and fairness. The OECD launched its Base Erosion and Profit Shifting (BEPS) initiative, aimed at curbing aggressive tax planning strategies employed by multinational corporations. Within the European Union, there was a growing push for greater tax harmonization and a crackdown on harmful tax practices. The European Commission took a more assertive stance against member states deemed to be facilitating tax avoidance. The combined pressure from international organizations, the European Union, and domestic constituencies forced European tax havens to reconsider their long-standing policies. The response of European tax havens to this mounting pressure has been varied, but a clear trend has emerged: a shift towards greater tax compliance and a move away from policies perceived as overly aggressive or unfair. Portugal has made significant changes to its non-habitual resident tax regime, reducing its attractiveness to foreign retirees and high-net-worth individuals. Malta, facing criticism for its citizenship-by-investment program, has implemented stricter requirements and increased due diligence checks on applicants. Ireland has agreed to implement a global minimum corporate tax rate of 15% for large multinational corporations. The pressure for greater tax transparency and harmonization is likely to continue, forcing these countries to adapt their policies and seek new ways to remain competitive. Portugal's emergence as a tax haven was no accident. The non-habitual resident tax regime, introduced in 2009, was the cornerstone of this strategy. The NHR program, coupled with Portugal's inherent appeal as a tourist destination, created a winning formula. Portugal's Golden Visa program further fueled the influx of foreign investment. The combination of tax incentives, residency programs, and Portugal's inherent attractiveness created a virtuous cycle, leading to economic growth, job creation, and a surge in tourism. As Portugal basked in the glow of its newfound prosperity, storm clouds were gathering on the horizon. Critics, both within Portugal and abroad, argued that the program was unsustainable, unfair, and amounted to a race to the bottom in terms of tax competition. Within Portugal, resentment grew towards foreign residents perceived as benefiting from preferential tax treatment while contributing little to the local economy. The influx of wealthy foreigners contributed to rising property prices, making it increasingly difficult for Portuguese citizens to afford housing in their own cities. The Portuguese government, caught between the desire to maintain its economic momentum and the need to address growing concerns about tax fairness, found itself at a crossroads. Faced with mounting pressure from both domestic and international actors, the Portuguese government embarked on a series of reforms to its tax system. The NHR program, once a cornerstone of the country's economic strategy, was not spared from these changes. One significant change was the introduction of a requirement for foreign residents to establish tax residency in Portugal, demonstrating a genuine link to the country. The Golden Visa program was amended to restrict investment in popular tourist areas, encouraging investment in less developed regions. These reforms have made Portugal a less attractive destination for some foreign residents and investors, but it remains a beautiful and welcoming country with a high quality of life. Malta, a small island nation in the heart of the Mediterranean, had long sought ways to leverage its strategic location and attract foreign investment. In 2014, the country launched its Individual Investor Program, more commonly known as the Golden Passport Program. This program offered citizenship in a European Union member state in exchange for a significant financial contribution. The influx of foreign capital generated significant revenue for the Maltese government, boosting the economy and funding infrastructure projects. However, the IIP program was not without its critics, with concerns about transparency and potential abuse by criminals, tax evaders, and individuals seeking to launder illicit funds. As the IIP program gained popularity, so too did the scrutiny from international organizations, foreign governments, and transparency advocates. The European Commission, the EU's executive arm, expressed concerns about the program's potential to undermine the integrity of the Schengen area and facilitate money laundering. The Commission urged Malta to strengthen its due diligence procedures and increase transparency surrounding the program. The Financial Action Task Force, an intergovernmental organization that sets global standards for combating money laundering and terrorist financing, placed Malta on its grey list in 2021. This designation indicated that Malta was not doing enough to address deficiencies in its anti-money laundering and counter-terrorist financing regime. The FATF's decision was a major blow to Malta's reputation and put further pressure on the government to take decisive action. Within Malta, a growing chorus of voices criticized the IIP program, arguing that it was eroding the country's sovereignty, inflating property prices, and benefiting a select few at the expense of ordinary citizens. The program's lack of transparency and the perception that it was attracting individuals with questionable backgrounds fueled public anger and led to calls for its termination. The Maltese government, caught between its desire to maintain the economic benefits of the IIP program and the mounting pressure from international and domestic actors, initially resisted calls for major reforms. However, the FATF's decision to grey-list Malta proved to be a turning point. The government realized that it could no longer ignore the concerns about the program's transparency and integrity. Section 3. A changing landscape. In response to mounting pressure, the Maltese government announced reforms to the IIP program in 2020. These reforms aimed to address concerns about transparency and due diligence. They included increased investment requirements and stricter background checks. Critics argued the reforms did not go far enough. Transparency remained a major concern. In February 2022, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the European Commission called on Malta to stop selling citizenship to Russian and Belarusian nationals. Malta eventually suspended the program for Russian and Belarusian citizens. The Golden Passport era in Malta appears to be drawing to a close. A haven in the Mediterranean. Nestled in the azure waters of the eastern Mediterranean, Cyprus has long held a certain allure. Its strategic location at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa made it a melting pot of cultures. Recently, Cyprus has become a financial hub and a haven for businesses optimizing tax liabilities. This journey began after joining the EU in 2004. Policies attracted foreign investment, making Cyprus an attractive business destination. A low corporate tax rate of 12.5% and double taxation treaties drew multinational corporations. Tax incentives for individuals like the non-domicile regime further boosted the economy. Financial services and real estate boomed, driving economic growth. However, this success story was not without its shadows. Section 2. Shifting sands. Tax reforms take shape. As Cyprus prospered, concerns grew about its tax-driven growth model and potential illicit financial flows. The 2008 financial crisis exposed vulnerabilities in Cyprus's banking sector, reliant on foreign deposits. Cyprus sought a bailout from the EU and IMF, leading to demands for financial transparency and tax reforms. The pressure on Cyprus to reform its tax policies intensified post-crisis. The EU pushed for greater tax harmonization and transparency. The OECD's BEPS initiative pressured Cyprus to align its tax system with international standards. Faced with mounting pressure, the Cypriot government embarked on tax reforms for a more sustainable system. The Cypriot government's tax reforms have touched upon both corporate and personal taxation, signaling a comprehensive effort to align the country's tax system with international standards. Phasing out the non-domicile regime was seen as necessary to address concerns about tax avoidance. Cyprus has also strengthened its anti-money laundering framework. These measures aim to restore confidence in Cyprus's financial system. The impact of these reforms on the economy is still being debated. Some argue they help diversify the economy. Others contend they have slowed economic growth. Despite challenges, Cyprus remains a beautiful and strategically located country with a skilled workforce. Ireland, known for its rolling green hills and vibrant culture, sought to establish itself on the global economic stage. In the late 20th century, the country aimed to attract foreign investment from multinational corporations. Ireland created a business-friendly environment with low corporate tax rates and access to the European market. The 12.5% corporate tax rate was a key attraction. Companies like Apple and Google established major operations in Ireland. Ireland's success in attracting foreign investment was undeniable. The country experienced an economic boom fueled by multinational corporations. The influx of foreign capital transformed Dublin and other major cities. However, this success story was not without its critics. Concerns grew about the sustainability and fairness of Ireland's tax-driven growth model. The pressure on Ireland to reform its corporate tax policies intensified after the global financial crisis of 2008. The EU aimed to create a level playing field, targeting harmful tax practices. Ireland, with its low corporate tax rate, faced EU efforts to harmonize tax policies. The OECD's BEPS initiative sought to close tax loopholes and curb profit shifting. Ireland faced pressure to align with BEPS recommendations. Initially resisting, Ireland defended its tax policies but faced mounting pressure. In 2016, Ireland announced it would phase out the double Irish tax structure. Despite concessions, Ireland maintained its low corporate tax rate to attract investment. The global landscape was shifting, making Ireland's tax approach untenable. Ireland faced a choice: cling to its low tax model or adapt to new global tax realities. The winds of change are sweeping through Europe, reshaping tax optimization. Countries once havens for tax-conscious individuals face a new reality, demanding transparency and fairness. The allure of low taxes remains, but it's no longer enough. Tightening tax rules in Portugal, Malta, Cyprus, and Ireland impact the global workforce. Entrepreneurs and investors seek new jurisdictions, balancing tax efficiency and quality of life. Competition for mobile individuals and their capital is intensifying globally. The shift from traditional tax havens reflects a trend towards transparency and cooperation. The days of opaque financial transactions are numbered. Governments recognize the need for fair taxation globally. The future lies in sustainable and ethical taxation. Transparency and cooperation will define successful tax jurisdictions.